This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.
Greetings, gents. Oh my god, we got a hell of a double feature. I got Stuart Mulrain from And Why Not podcast. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
Never better. It's
good.
Wait, it's been a minute since we've done like kind of a themed kind of like double feature, two movies, one theme, and lo and behold, what overall kind of got you into some of the bigger blockbuster movies before we dive in?
I think I grew up in the era of the video shop, so
Okay, no,
my dad just bringing home big budget movies that he rented on a Saturday night, and just from there, sort of, and being a kid, things like Superman, Star Wars, that sort of stuff.
What do you feel is like the main ingredient people often kind of forget about that is what makes a movie sizzle?
I mean, it's different for different people. I think as long as it engages you and engrosses you and keeps you thinking about it after you've watched it.
Perfect. How'd you get together with Dog Walker Tom on your We've Seen These Movies sideshow?
He was a guest on And Why Not a few times. We met through comics and then
Sweet.
Just decided to do. We were talking about the films we were seeing so much. We thought let's just make a spin-off podcast as well. So
I like it. I've wondered about that too, about whether I should create a separate feed or just be on the same thing because it's kind of all connected. It's like however much work you want to actually put into this, but okay, sweet. I think we're in some good company here tonight, folks, and So what are we doing tonight, Stuart?
We are talking about Flashdance and Footloose.
Man, and it's wild though. Like they're instantly recognizable, and they got some talent even from both sides of the world. Is like, and all together, like it's so funny how. The first one is going to be constantly lampooned. It's considered generally a good movie, but at the time, it was kind of a lukewarm reaction where it did make a lot of worst of the year lists, unfortunately. I think Siskel hated it. I think there was a few others who weren't keen on it. And the second one, it's so funny. It kind of brings up some similar censorship issues that I'll get into to where even though it's set in Oklahoma, they wanted to go to one of the other nearby states, Utah, to film it because it was still technically, much like its premise, kind of illegal to practice dance. So I think but I was also surprised looking at that up. That is generally considered a good movie, and most people I come across will go, "Oh, I love that movie." But surprisingly, it also kind of had meh reviews, but was loved for its soundtrack. So I that's kind of why I kind of jumbled these together. Is like these are kind of both associated with kind of the dance subgenre movie, but they kind of also use a lot of that fast cutting MTV Rocky style montages. And people mainly just were like, hey, it's worth it for the dance numbers, but it also kind of told the story. So it's blurring that line between popcorn movie and legit masterful editing. So it's there's a lot of back and forth. And I think we'll land on reasonable verdicts, but I just thought it'd be interesting from having someone on the other side of the pond, weigh in. It's like, oh, you Americans and your crazy dance movies.
Now, as somebody who's got no interest in dance, it's weird. I will admit, Flashdance I hadn't seen properly until I watched it yesterday ahead of this.
Okay.
I've only ever seen bits of it.
Had you heard of?
I've seen Footloose hundreds of times, but
Oh, wonderful! Yeah, I'm sure it's on VH1 24/7. Had you? Were you already familiar with Adrian Lyne though?
yeah,
And he's
and
another one.
obviously
He
Fatal
does.
Attraction and
Yeah, everyone varies on his stuff. I know one of my other friends and recurring hosts really likes Jacob's Ladder and
yeah,
but this is also wild because like speaking of Fatal Attraction, like this is kind of like one of Joe Esterhaus's better known scripts before he gets typecast into you got to have a cycle, you got to have some sex in your movies, and he was just uh, kind of like Pretty Woman in a way. Like they took this movie and said, let's cut out some of these grim storylines because that'll be too much for the audience to handle.
yeah. Flashdance is weird. It's a lot of it feels like padding to get a feature length runtime. None of the scenes seem to drive the plot forward. And its central relationship is really creepy.
It's what's so weird. It's just like these people all got along, but you're just like, yeah, a lot of stuff that would be a total no-no, like even nowadays. Just
Yeah, I mean the fact she's 18 and he's like 36 and her boss.
Yeah, and it's like some people were like, "Oh, it's sexy," but then others were like, "Oh, it's creepy." And it's like, well, it's trying to just be sexy, but it is technically, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it helps that while they're both really good actors in their own right, they have zero chemistry together.
Oh, really? Okay. Hey, no, this is fine. This is why I like doing this.
Yeah, I did not
the-
believe them together at all. It wouldn't surprise me if after that freeze frame at the end of the film, they're just kind of like, yeah, we done? Yeah, cracking.
I will say the What a Feeling song does get tiresome after a while.
It's weird the images they choose to open the film with to that song. Because with like Footloose, you've got that 80s banger and the feet dancing. But over this one, it's just, like, the mundanity of going to work.
Yeah,
the song feels like it should have something a bit more lively going over it. It should have opened with her doing a dance number on the stage.
Yeah.
And then we find out she's a welder.
That's what's so wild. And Gio Moroder was producing a lot of this stuff. So much like Footloose, there is a lot of songs that were all big, like top 40 international radio hits, but also there's plenty of them that weren't on the soundtrack but still went off. The director of the 1980 slasher Maniac kind of claims that the song that was used in this movie wasn't meant for his movie, but others have long circulated it actually was meant for that movie, and then they reworked it for this film. So I think to answer your question, I think co-producer Don Simpson, who was best known for being a collaborator with Jerry Bruckheimer, must have had some creepy ideas that he told the screenwriter to come across, and the screenwriter was just going across raw human nature, so he just didn't really see the problem that he otherwise would have written totally differently at the time. Joe Esterhaus, also, like many filmmakers, depending on when you interview him, he's always going to change his story though too. So with all the cocaine he's done, so I'm
say with Don Simpson.
Yes, so I'm gonna just say they were soaked in the 80s. They were spoiled and not thinking straight. I think what's so weird though, kind of like how dancing still actually wasn't legal in Oklahoma, which Footloose is ironically, portraying, even though it's not trying to be over political, it's just trying to be a feel good movie with some mild commentary. What's so weird is Jennifer Beals, people forget she is mixed. She is.
Yeah. She's, like I say, she's great. The dance stuff is superb. I can't fault any of that. Cynthia Rhodes' dance number as well. That weird one she does.
But
it's not Jennifer Beals, but it's that one where it keeps flashing and
totally. But here's kind of a wild reverse. She's part Irish, part African. But what's so funny is, well, it's not funny. It's bizarre. Is she has there was like some like kind of like censorship code in place at the time where it's like you couldn't have like a certain acknowledgement of like a mixed character or something. I'll look that up, but so many other podcasts have covered that way better than I ever will. But uh, I think the other sad thing is it's kind of progressive in that, yes, it's one of the biggest lead sequences for uh, a black actress, but sadly, the only she is not acknowledged as a black woman, unfortunately, in this movie. So that's another knock against the film. But the only other black person in this film is her coworker, and she's unfortunately drawn to be a stereotype who goes, "Oh hell no," you know. So that's that
Yeah, I mean,
character
it's got
wasn't.
that up on Footloose because Footloose is the whitest film.
That's see, yes, and that is like yes, Oklahoma. It's not segregated. There is a lot of everyone there. Is there some backward stuff? Yes, but come on, there's got to be at least one Latino or one black guy in the dance numbers. But and I will say I often, but yeah, the name of that code, God, it was a weird code, and it's not in effect anymore. But at the same time, it's kind of weird. Like I don't think any movie studio challenged it for a while because they unfortunately were complicit, which sucks because you'd like to think that the 80s, while it had a lot of backwards societal stuff, at least was having some kind of groundbreaking stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of the groundbreaking stuff was more with production quality and you know, getting a lot of music artists signed, not
Yeah.
racially aware, but I'm looking it up. I should have done it a little but before that. Yeah, it was the Hays Code. Yeah. It was like can't have miscegenation, sexual relationships or romance between white and black individuals. It was phased out in the 60s, but that there was like some other play on that on uh about the depiction, but yeah, it's so wild. So it's like, you know, the 80s, they're not really worried about censorship. They're worried about you know, too much violence and sex getting an X rating. And it's I are you familiar with the music group Fear?
No, I don't think I
Okay.
am.
Okay, yeah, they were a hardcore punk group, and they were banned from SNL because they're just too intense. But that's where I know the main bad guy in Flashdance from is he's just always had that punchable face, like hey, you know. And so when I've seen him play a biker or something, and he's actually a pretty nice guy, but it's just so funny how he just in this movie, I'm like, yeah, I kind of wanted them to do more with that villain. Is like he should have come by and been kind of like a Miami Vice kind of character. So yeah, I'd always seen parts of this movie for years, and then rectified that in recent years. I'm not the biggest Adrian Lyne guy. I just always have had trouble buying into his bizarre premises. It's like they blur
Yeah,
that line between psycho thriller and just yeah, this is a Red Shoe Diaries type stupid movie.
I think the underdevelopment of the bad guy is a key thing with this film. Is that they have lots of plot problems that they put in place that they just solve instantly.
Yeah,
And it's like you got Richie goes off to be a comedian in LA and comes straight back
it's
dressed as a
soapy.
crocodile.
Yeah, it's soapy. And
A friend ends up working in one of the strip clubs just so, you know, we can get a bit of TNA in the film.
that's what's so funny too.
That's resolved straight away as well.
But both these movies, they're known for being sexy movies, but they only had like partial nudity, even though that's not what's really associated with either film. It's just so weird. It's like Footloose has the shower
Yeah,
scene,
I mean,
so it's so funny. People who just seen it on cable were like, "I love that movie." Don't know why it's PG, and it's like, well, because people come out of the shower and there's a few uses of shit in the profanity department. But yeah, dude, there's some bullshit. I I enjoy it. I think one issue that really annoyed me is during one of the main dance sequences. There's a big giant crane shot, and it needlessly kind of cuts away in bizarre directions. It's like, is this a pickup shot? Why did you film it that way? I would have. It's that's where I was just going into film school mode. I'm like, hey, you fucked up the shot. Reshoot it. But there's some other people here who've done all kinds of stuff. Belinda Bauer, who's kind of the queen of cult movies. No relation to any other actress. She's retired from acting, but we got Miko Mercutio, who's been in all kinds of other stuff. Cult movies galore, Gleaming the Cube, The Client. But yeah, I'm. You've already summed it up, my dude. So like, I got no defense for the inappropriate relationship, because like, even though it is consensual and of age, it is still just like, yeah, still like, she's just an adult, and
Yeah. I think if she hadn't been 18, if they just made her slightly older, 21
or just the boss should have at least been in his 20s as well, because there were
Yeah.
younger bosses, and it's not like he was a giant corporate deal. She was at a steel mill, for God's sake, so he could have just been the rich kid. But I am a fan of both these actors. Unfortunately, they've also often been noted, like, professionally, as very opinionated, so that has cost them some roles, unfortunately, to where they would do made-for-TV, direct-to-video bullshit in between hit and mainstream movies, where you're like, jeez. And it was just kind of
he
more
was really good in Damaged with Glenn Close. That's a TV series.
Yeah, Damages.
He played her husband. Yeah.
Yeah. I instantly recognize his voice anytime before I even see him on screen. Often he's got that voice, and
yeah, it's like I say, he's a great actor. They just don't have any chemistry together. Jennifer Beals is a great actress as well.
Yeah, she's
in a film I love called Roger Dodger with Campbell Scott.
Man,
in a small role.
Dude, that is a deep cut. That is such a deep cut. Yeah,
I love that film.
That was a wild comedy.
Very early Jesse Eisenberg.
He was such a baby at that time. He was like, wow, yeah, who would have known? That's gonna be the guy who's plays the creator of Facebook.
Yeah.
Now he's directing. Oh well, yeah, there was that. Yeah, Campbell Scott, love that guy too. But yeah, no, I
love Campbell Scott.
They both made huge comebacks on either recurring or TV starring roles. They seem to get along with everyone else.
She had the L word, didn't she? Which was huge.
She was on the Boba Fett show recently, and I mean, but during the '90s, most people would have probably just known, oh yeah, you were in with Denzel and Devil in a Blue Dress, So
it's 80s actresses. Not many of them carried over through to the 90s. I mean, Laurie Singer in particular from Footloose just pretty much disappeared. She's in Warlock and a couple of other things, but
that's I thank you for mentioning that transition, because we don't hold back. We do have to unfortunately talk about some of the foul play in the industry and the competitiveness, and sometimes it's really cutthroat. And people would often ask, what happened to Laurie Singer? She's kind of done just a lot of producing. She was already on the show Fame, which they've rebooted who knows how many times. She's been in other obscure movies like The Falcon and the Snowman with Sean Penn, and an obscure Tom Hanks comedy called The Man with One Red Shoe. But yeah, I love that film. Oh, it's such a wild movie, and it's like, but
it's not a great film, but I just really enjoy it.
Yeah, totally. And so it's like she's mainly always going to be known as, oh yeah, you're the one who was in Footloose, and then some other TV movies, then was in Robert Altman's Shortcuts, and then kind of vanished. She was a cellist, so she could perform the cello, but apparently she still is in contact with her Footloose co-star Kevin Bacon, but the only thing I could find is then she does that campy fantasy horror action movie Warlock, and the director Steve Miner did say she was very difficult to work with. So I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, because it could have just been she was asking motivation, and it wasn't a strong character lead for her, and he probably didn't have anything to offer other than just, worry about your close up, which is not great for an actress to worry about.
It's become something increasingly recently that actresses were deemed difficult to work with. And it's more that they just weren't getting the same breaks that men were getting, or directors just assumed that they would go and do whatever they were told, wouldn't ask questions. Or, they wouldn't sleep with somebody, and so they were described as difficult in some cases. It's just...
Yeah, we had Weinstein type.
It seems to be leveled a lot more at female actresses than it does male actresses. There are male actors who have that reputation of being difficult as well, but they managed to seem to keep getting work. So
yeah, it didn't stop Eddie Murphy or Stallone, So
yeah.
It's unfortunately, like you say, it is one of those where it's like, back in the day, I unfortunately would have taken the bait and believed it. Now, I'm just going to say, Steve, you've worked in the industry long enough, but another big detriment for actors is that often they will ask a harmless question because they just don't want to look like a fool in the scene. I want to give it what it justifies. And if you're telling me don't worry about it, I'm like, well, hold on a second. I'm here to do good work here.
Well, that's it. And the other thing with actresses is, and I don't condone it, but it is the reality of it, is they want you when you're young and sexy, and then they want you to come back when you can play a mother or a grandmother. They don't want you in that in-between bit. Very few actresses have managed to keep that. I think like Jamie Lee Curtis is an exception, but even she had massive breaks in her career where she was doing dross.
Oh, totally.
Occasionally a Halloween movie would come along and put her back in the spotlight for a bit, and then... And again, that's nothing against Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, ageism was a thing, and there were plenty of them who, like Helen Mirren, and going back to your Damages star, Glenn Close, who kind of just did a lot of theater in between, so they were always busy. And fortunately, some producers who wanted to just have quality actors would just give in after a while instead of worry about appeasing all the perverted other studio guys who are just like, I need someone beautiful to sell this movie and look at. So yeah,
that's because Flashdance is very sold on the sexiness of Jennifer Beals.
Oh, totally. And
rightly or wrongly, and she is an incredibly beautiful woman. She's got an incredibly captivating face, and I'm not saying that in a leery bloke kind of way.
No, I know what you mean. And the movie did make her, but at the same time, like this movie could have been so much more rock sauce. They could have had some other kind of bizarre storyline where you're just like, she is only just 18.
Yeah, like I say, they should have just made her 21. It would have helped a lot of stuff. Also, an 18-year-old welder is...
Surprisingly, that's the other thing, too, of other movies that are kind of being retconned as awful. It doesn't go into, say, like one of those toxic college comedies. And surprisingly, those were movies I never got behind. Unlike most people who are like, well, it's funny, but there is that one creepy storyline. It's like, it's all creepy. And so it's so wild how, this is... I have known people in bizarre relationships where their partners are like 20 to 30 years apart, but at the same time, it's like, it is crossing an angle.
Yeah, it does happen. It's not unheard of for somebody to... But
like you say,
a 50-year-old to go out with a 25-year-old or something. It's just...
It is rightfully frowned upon, but it is also one of those, it's like, it's like, what do I say? It's legal, but should it be? Yeah, it's like...
It's... it's just, like I say, and the fact they just don't really seem to have any chemistry together.
Fair enough.
I think I read somewhere that they were circling Kevin Costner for that role at one point. Which I would have been slightly younger.
Yeah, I had a list, and TV Tropes. Yes, I love that site more than IMDb because they'll go into very deep cuts. Like they had so many where I was like, really? Wow. Hey, yeah. And it was way more helpful than IMDb, which was just citing, rumors galore. But I mean, so I do find it funny how Brian De Palma almost directed this. I think again, I like him, but he's a perfect example of someone who's got like 10 good movies, 20 bad movies, considered good, but also has a lot of shit where you just scratch your head and say, what was he thinking? But yeah, it's so funny. He and David Cronenberg were both offered this. I'm like, what?
Yeah. De Palma I can kind of see. It wouldn't have been the film we got, but I can kind of see a De Palma version of this film. Cronenberg, not so much.
Yeah, and that's why he passed, basically, is he was just like, I go into weird, bizarre sci-fi and horror and mystery. I don't even when I do real life stuff, it's psychological. So if he wanted to do psychological, I could have seen that where dancing is destroying her career or getting her out of her depressing lifestyle. But yeah,
her lifestyle doesn't seem that depressing.
well, yeah, I think
she seems to enjoy being a welder. She's got a nice big warehouse she lives in.
It's so well though too. You would see that poster and you're like, man, that looks like a movie that it's going to be very dark and gritty. And it's like, no, she's not a drug dealer. She's not on the run. That might have been interesting. So it is a bit of too many cooks, and at the same time, it is also trying to make all kinds of people happy. So it's interesting. Is like it doesn't all come together, but it is kind of fun. Cynthia Rhodes, was known for dancing and other stuff like Dirty Dancing and
Jojo's Rosanna video.
Yes,
most famously.
She's a Tennessee gal. Yeah,
her story arc is weird, and she's just waiting for a guy to call
her. Basically, it.
And it's like I say, it's a bit odd. I get that people like it, and I love that they're.
I'm not saying it's
for some people this is their Footloose.
No, it's not perfect.
It just didn't click for me. Maybe if I'd seen it at a more impressionable age, like with Footloose, I would have been a bit more into it. But just nothing seemed to gel in it.
Okay, no, it's fine.
Nothing sort of drives the thing forward. It had a very good, very well shot stuff in it. It's well acted. It's just there's a lot of plot lines they could have, done away with.
Oh, okay. So that's a good build on. Is like apparently it was supposed to be way sexier, and they just were like, hey, well, we're just going to imply it, so it only gets the R rating for just some of the
which
language.
Is good because again, Jennifer Beals was 18,
right? And
my big issue with Idle Hands is as much as I enjoy that film, Jessica Alba is 17 in that film, and they do some pretty iffy stuff.
That's a fair point too. That's a movie where often everyone got the memo and didn't lean too hard into it, but yet there was still that other subtext where everyone was like, not thinking clearly in the 90s either, were we? So, but I like that movie otherwise, despite its problems. But yeah, I mean, this is what, so I guess I give this movie some credit because like it kind of kept it classy, but it's so funny. I had family members who really liked this movie. My grandmother was a big supporter of the arts and would always take us to theater. But it's so funny. Well, more than half the time she'd talk about a movie, but she'd only seen it as like the 6:00 movie on like network or cable TV, and would be like, I don't know why it's rated R. It's like, well, you're not going to know why it's rated R because it's modified for TV to where it's acceptable. And the only thing that they're going to struggle sometimes is when it gets a little intense but there's no gunfights in these movies. So we're good on that. Footloose does have some fight scenes that's so funny. They describe it as way more intense than it actually is. But again, that's a one that I've probably seen more on TV than I actually have, on any home video copy. So, but it's so funny. She was like, yeah, it was kind of sexual with Footloose. And like, or with Flashdance. I'm like, no, it's implied. It's rated R for the language and the brief blink and a miss moment at this club. But yeah, so what storylines would you have reworked? The only one I can think of is just one of those stupid coworkers who she's stretching and dancing with, who just seems to be just a written cliche.
Yeah, and I'd do away with the Richie storyline.
Okay.
I think the storyline that works is the mirror of her friend who wants to be the ice skater.
So the short order cook,
she obviously
that's an
fails her audition.
Yeah.
And then
See, I've already
disappears
forgotten
for a
about
bit,
Richie,
then
and I've seen this movie twice. So yeah,
that's it. Richie's just so pointless.
he's
It's like he
kind
has
of,
a big scene where he comes to say goodbye to her in her apartment, and then he's back 2 scenes later.
yeah, he's. I think I so no, I'm with you. I think realistically, it never really bothered me because I had kind of seen so many documentaries and encountered people who do live stand up. It is a lot of walking around pointlessly before you get the gig. But at the same time, yes, it does feel like the editor just stitched two of his scenes simultaneously together to where you're like, hold on a minute, he just left. So was that
It's like Robert
deliberate?
Wall pops up in this film for like 2 scenes as well. Like, it's
Yes.
Robert Wall. He's probably like the most recognizable face because I grew up watching Batman,
Yeah, it's true.
and
Robert.
he's like a nobody character. I think there is a good film in Flashdance. I just think it got bogged down in trying to do so much.
It needs a director.
It felt like they didn't have enough with their idea to make it run for like 90 minutes.
And this was
They
where
padded it out with a lot of stuff, and then
yeah. And Bruckheimer was always just selling the checks. It's like, if you have an MTV look, I'll sell this movie. You know, I'm the Top Gun guy. So he was on Rob Lowe's podcast, Bruckheimer, and did take credit for he saw Jennifer Bills at an audition. He's like, that's the gal. That's the person
Yeah.
we need. But now one foul play is unforgivable. So remember who was in charge of Paramount at this time, years before they were trying to buy every other studio?
yes, it was. Was it still Robert Evans then?
Not Robert Evans.
No.
And see, Robert
No, it
wasn't. Well, Robert wasn't the head. He was just one of the lead
That's
producers.
right, yeah.
The Godfather. It was someone else, but there was like, and Albert Rudy was also one of the other guys overseeing it. So, and in this case, you know, Indiana Jones is coming out, and it almost wasn't a Paramount release. It almost just got shifted to another studio because Michael Eisner was such a pompous ass over the phone before he finally
That's
relented and said, "I'll give you, you know, X amount of $1 million and stay out of your way because you're all filming these non-union productions overseas and Spielberg's backing it up. He's got money." Yeah. So unfortunately, Michael Eisner, it's so wild how he's actually spoken out on some of these wrong studio things, even though most people loathe him for what he did to Disney in terms of just milking their direct-to-video department, making pointless movies and TV show sequels to this established stuff to sell out the direct-to-video market. But yeah, and Paramount, he was also pretty way too over the top and notoriously, and this story should be repeated. So trigger warning, trigger warning. This is only being reiterated for history purposes. Sorry to get dark here, guys, for an otherwise enjoyable light movie. It is one thing that is way out of left field where I secretly believe studios do this, but they word it differently. In that he apparently took some teenage boys aside from this movie, because yes, even back then, it's so funny with the rating system. They didn't want parents complaining, but they still wanted kids to sneak in and watch the movie and, you know, give the studio tickets and shit. But apparently Michael Eisner notoriously, when around the time they were doing preview screenings and everything, he brought some high schoolers in and he showed them different like actresses or something. You know, it wasn't molestation or clothes or anything, but it was clothes, but it was just like he asked them all in a row, which of these girls would you fuck? And you're like, you actually asked kids that? Wow.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
it's
like,
easy to blame it on being the 80s, but it's not an excuse. It's just
what's so funny is
Yeah.
it is way riskier than it actually looks, you know, with the over the top costumes and dance uniforms, and yet it's not over sensualized, if that makes sense, I guess. You know, I don't know. It's
well, yeah, that's it. And I mean,
it's so wild.
there are portions of the dance scenes where it's a man doing the dancing, so that kind of threw a lot of people off as well. But it's this is a film that doesn't lend to high def because you can really tell when it's not Jennifer Beals dancing.
That's true. And HD is not going to be kind. We could talk about some of the Kevin Bacon stuff. Like that was directed by a hell of a guy. Who was his name? He's done
Herbert Ross.
Herbert Ross. Yeah, he's the king of doing all kinds of other comedies and musicals and stage plays. And it's like, this is the guy who did what it was called. It wasn't The Crossing Guard. It was some other skating movie with Shirley MacLaine. It was a big deal.
Oh, yeah.
It was The Turning
Point. I knew he did Play It Again, Sam, didn't he? The early Woody Allen film.
Yep. He unfortunately worked with Woody Allen. Good filmmaker, trash human being. But yeah, I mainly was more familiar growing up with him because, Still Magnolias was on TV all the time. My sister loved that movie, and I knew mainly My Blue Heaven and Pennies from Heaven, just his Steve Martin deals.
That's right, he did Pennies from Heaven. I'm not a fan of Pennies from Heaven. I do like My Blue Heaven.
Hey, no, it's all good.
It's like one of the few Steve Martin films that I just can't get on with.
It's fine. I find it interesting how many people have seen most of this guy's films, but like even if he wasn't the director or writer, they probably saw him choreograph the dance numbers, like even for the original Dr. Dolittle and Funny Girl with Barbra Streisand. So that's funny. But yeah, I mean, most people had probably seen Streisand's Funny Lady, as well as the 7% Solution, which is a Sherlock Holmes. I always think it's Nicholas Meyer. It's like, no, Nicholas Meyer wrote this from his own novel and then adapted this. And then, Footloose is probably his biggest hit. Others have probably seen the Michael J. Fox, Secret of My Success.
Yeah.
My mother was a fan of Protocol, a movie which I don't recommend. It's just a stupid political comedy. Others have probably seen Soap Dish and True Colors with James Spader and John Cusack. Boys on the Side is on TV all the time, and it's not a great movie, sadly. Which is a shame because it's pretty mature and everything. It's very uneven, but yeah, probably Still Magnolias and Footloose are his biggest hits. And I once joked to my pal Anthony, who's a movie critic, and I was just joking. He's like, "Oh my god, I had the weirdest dream where Herbert Ross," and I just named off like two other people known for well-acted comedies and dramas. We're all in a directing studio arguing about how to direct a movie together. And he's like, "I want to be in that dream." Can I steal your dream? But yeah, no, this Footloose, for being a hit movie, so here's another funny thing. It probably shouldn't work. And why do I say that? Because take away the success. It was the 7th highest grossing film of 1984. Big surprise hit for Paramount. They did not expect that. It's got cinematography by Rick Waite, who's best known for his work with Walter Hill and working on way more difficult movie shoots. Rest in peace. But how often when there's a producer who's known for Broadway, a Broadway career, writes both the songs and the movie script, it tends to not be very good. It tends to be a very distorted Xanadu type crappy musical. And yet Dean Pritchford wrote one other dance movie after this and then just returned to Broadway. So I guess he got the memo. It's like, but I had no idea that there was a musical version of this. I just knew that they remade it, which was needless, but
yeah, I think for the longest time the remake was going to be an adaptation of the musical because they had Zac Efron attached to it for a long time.
Oh man,
the remake is all right. It's not. It's a lot better than I thought it'd be, and there is stuff in the remake that I do like. I like the version of the uncle in that. It's a shame they kill his mother off as well before the film starts.
It's so wild. I've only seen.
I do like what they do with the uncle because the uncle in this Footloose is a piece of shit.
Oh no, that's a good point. And they lighten everything. Like pretty much, I only saw parts of it. When it came out, it just kind of was like you say. It was like most people just forgot about it, but it also wasn't as unwatchable as most remakes tend to be. But it's like pretty much all
Yeah,
everyone did was makes me feel good. Plot sucks. Dennis Quaid and Andy McDowell are great. I'm like, well,
yeah.
okay, so I'm not really surprised by any of those statements, but I think I'm. To be fair, yes, it is good that you have a remake and it's just okay. And so, like, I'll take that.
It's the fact it makes the original Footloose look positively subtle.
Yeah, because like I did see the trailer and it's like they were trying to kind of cash in on other stuff like Step Up and other dance movies and
Yeah, it was.
shows.
It made sense to remake it when they did, because, like you say, you had Step Up, Save
It
the
pr-
Last Dance. Those
it
two dance movies were hot for a brief period.
oh, and don't get me wrong, there were plenty of other dance movies that totally got written off. And unless you watched MTV all day, most people didn't consider them good movies. Like I'm talking everything. Like there was Honey, there was You Got Served, which were pretty much they're not good movies and they're not even memorable movies. But every once in a while, I'll hear someone mention them or bring them up in a theater class because they're just like, yeah, it's our version of Breakin'. I'm like, well, here's the thing. Breakin' was remembered for the wrong reasons because it was a Canon Films production. So I don't know about this, and people loved ragging on Breakin' too because it had the craziest, subtitle, Electric Boogaloo. So
Yeah.
uh, I think this is a good transition. So like what is your like go-to like musical or dance movie and which is your least favorite where you're just like make it stop. Awful. Don't do it.
I mean, obviously Footloose. It's like one of
Okay,
my
no, see,
all-time
that's awesome.
favorite films. It's the film I put on when I don't feel very well, that I can sort of just drift in and out of. I watched it obsessively as a kid. It's weird that I had no interest in dancing whatsoever. I just really like the film.
I'll say
Um,
this. I could possibly dance. I'm not going to dance. I just don't like it's so stupid. But Kevin Bacon even has said this in similar interviews. Is like, I don't like the ruthless attention you were given, like
yeah,
and I feel like a pet monkey. And see, I wouldn't go that far, but I just don't like how over sexualized it tends to be, even though there are some good dance movies. So like Bootman's a good movie, that's a good film. Tenacious D is probably a very amusing comedy, but A Knight's Tale is probably best known for the dancing in between all the action and comedy. So like there's all kinds of stuff to think about, but like Singing in the Rain, I have always liked as a kid because it was also
yeah.
making fun of just the Hollywood system at the time. And it's even more kind of cheeky when you realize like, and no one said a thing because even the studio guys were too dumb to get it. So like,
Yeah. Singing in the Rain is amazing. We
totally.
did an episode on Singing in the Rain.
Oh, sweet.
I adore that film. I mean, again, it's them doing the dancing. There's no dance doubles, and it's full on. They're flinging themselves around the set.
Totally.
The songs are good. The songs are memorable.
We'll return after these messages.
Howdy folks, Halfback here. We got a 90-minute weekly Shack Stop. Scrolling all over the world. Find it at 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Mondays, then 3 p.m. on Wednesdays, then 7 p.m. on Thursdays. You can catch it on many more radio stations, 99.9 KERB, 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern on Mondays. Then catch the encore on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern. Then catch it Wednesday mornings at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Central on 107.7 K-Twins. Then hang out with us Wednesday afternoons on MXTR and House Shack Radio, 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Then Thursday, get up bright and early with us on 95.7 Web Radio at 6 a.m. Pacific Time, 9 a.m. Eastern. Of course, we've got the Friday covered as well. 12 p.m. Eastern Time on MXTR FM and 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 9 p.m. Central, 107.7 K-Twins. Find everything on owlshack.com.
Owlshack. Do you ever find yourself thinking about who would win in a fight between Goku and Superman? Hi, I'm James Gavsey, and on the Who Would Win show, me and my co-host Ray ignore anything important happening in the outside world and debate fictional battles between characters from comics, movies, and video games.
We got a new show every week, and almost always am I the winner.
Yeah, not true, Ray.
In the past, we've discussed such matches as Captain America versus Darth Vader, Solid Snake versus the Iron Giant, classic matchups like RoboCop versus Terminator, and even the Muppets versus Sesame Street.
That one was crazy. So if you're a fan of geek culture and love a spirited debate, check out the Who Would Win show wherever you get your podcasts, or check us out at whowouldwinshow.com.
Musicals wise, I don't think there's any I really don't like. I'm not a massive fan of Chicago.
I had that on my worst movies list, and I've seen people in the past defend it, and I've been like, no. But I think that's a good takeaway in that you could argue that any fanfare, especially for these movies, is based on nostalgia. And it's like, I wouldn't say nostalgia. I would say, yes, when we see something long ago back in the day, it is easy to get distracted by the success and the flashy performances. But I think that's why I give these movies a pass. Because, like, while Flashdance is appropriately flashy, the Footloose isn't flashy, I wouldn't say. It's more just people like the whole feel-good story where people ask the simple questions like, why is it wrong to dance in this, conservative town?
Well, that's it. I think there is an element of nostalgia with Footloose, but I also think as I've got older, I can relate more to John Lithgow's character as well.
So the studio...
He has that amazing line of, if we don't start trusting our children, how can they ever become trustworthy?
Yeah, great line.
And as a parent, that's a great line because as a kid, you're kind of like, yeah, adults ruin everything. I mean, this is very, trapped under the enforcement of a conservative town, book burnings, firing teachers for getting the kids to read Slaughterhouse-Five.
Basically it.
A book that is a classic in any town.
Yeah, that is a good book. It's not an easy read, but it is a lot of the same whole just asking the right questions and questioning culture. In the wrong hands, I definitely feel like this would have just not been believable. I definitely feel like the studio didn't care. They kind of just wanted to capitalize on the dance movies, so they definitely are targeting the nostalgic crowd who just wants anything, They're like, hey, I mean, you already saw the Saturday Night Fever, flop of a sequel that was staying alive, so why wouldn't you see this, And it is so hard to believe that Kevin Bacon wasn't the first pick, and you're like, why wouldn't he be the first pick?
Yeah, it's one of those things now. There's possibly an alternate world out there where like Tom Cruise was in Footloose, and everyone's like, can you believe they wanted Kevin Bacon?
Yeah,
but it's hard to imagine anybody else in it. And I mean, I off the back of this film fell down a Kevin Bacon rabbit hole, watched so many of his movies, discovered Tremors off the back of it as well, which is a film I absolutely adore.
Another movie he wasn't as keen on at first because he didn't like the attention it was getting him, and it's like, it's one of your best known movies. I mean, I think this is it. He did so much quantity. It took him a while to get to the movies he was proud of as like, yeah, that's quality, even though he was a professional. He's a nice person in real life, and people want to see him in a movie. He still looks good for his age. I don't know what genetics or healthy scenarios he does, but good on you. I mean, all these actors in both movies have done pretty good at just keep themselves alive, not looking past their age. As like they still will cast Bacon in certain roles where it's like, yeah, you're in your 60s, but they're trying to make you look 40. But hey, they're trying because you have an interesting stage presence. But yeah, nowadays I'll see them even just show up as federal agents or dads. And for a while, he kind of was getting just typecast as either the cool rebel who everyone wants to be like, or as the traitor or psycho. And this is an interesting point because like this makes his career doesn't really get as much attention until kind of after the fact, and it still kind of has a questionable 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, which is also kind of questionable. You're like, really? I would have thought it'd be like a 7.5 or something, because it's respectable.
Yeah, I think it was better received than Flashdance was, and obviously it's had the longevity that Flashdance hasn't had. I think even Roger Ebert was more up on Footloose than he was Flashdance, or Siskel, one of the two.
Siskel, I think, was nicer. He unfortunately trashed this movie, calling it a seriously confused movie that tries to do three things and does all of them badly. You're like, ouch, dude.
So
that
doesn't surprise him.
I'm gonna, but see, this is the beauty of critics' review. I can just take their words and say why it's totally full of shit. So there's one guy in New York Magazine, Dave Denby, who called this schlock dance. I'm like, Jesus, okay. But like he
what
says,
you got to remember as well, though, is those critics at the time were like 40s, 50s. This movie wasn't for them.
I mean,
that's not an excuse for why the film shouldn't work for them, but it's easy to dismiss it. The same as critics my sort of age now will dismiss the FNAF movies.
Oh, totally. That's really not so different. You'll see people say, "I want movies to be like old school." I'm like, well, stuff like the older days also was questionable. So this still has a mediocre rating on Rotten Tomato, which is 55%, which is so weird because usually I see this referred to as a legit good movie. So I guess I'm distracted by the TV Guide rating or more mainstream critics. So like it's mostly positive, but there are some people who just don't buy into this scenario. But I thought like the dialogue you just worded there and the dramatic beats were earned because they put some thought into it and they kind of let it breathe instead of be very preachy in your face. So it was like, yeah, I don't.
What's it? And the other thing to remember with Footloose is that technically Kevin Bacon's character wins by default. His goal was to put a dance on in Beaumont. He has to compromise and put it on in the next town over.
Yeah.
So he technically wins by compromise. It's not, it's like Rocky. Rocky doesn't win the fight, but he went the distance.
And see, but I also think both movies were filmed very much like a Rocky film in that how they did the dance sequences are filmed much like the training sequences. And so I think that's why. And then, yes, the optimism feels mostly earned because it doesn't, like you say, it's a compromise and it's a little more realistic because in real life, you generally don't get what you want, but you get a compromise that you can live with.
Yeah.
So I would think that would be enough instead of just a ho-hum, because surprisingly, I don't see anyone say it's too easy a storyline or it's too simple, but I unfortunately have seen a lot of these reviews where they just call it, meh, only teens
Yeah,
like
the
this.
biggest criticism I always saw was that it took itself too seriously.
Too serious? Then why even watch it at all if it's not serious? Like, there wouldn't be any stakes.
It's like, okay, fine, I guess.
If it was a comedy, then we wouldn't be reacting well to any of these fights in the movie.
No, that's it. And I mean, I think the legacy of Footloose is that it did play it straight. And I think people then point at, like, you watch something like Hot Rod where he goes off to do the angry dance through the forest, which is just a rip-off of Footloose.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get the Guardians of the Galaxy thing about Footloose being the greatest movie ever, which I wonder how many people went to watch Footloose after that. I've always said, genuinely, Footloose is the greatty movie ever. Guardians of the Galaxy kind of stole that.
They pretty much played into it. Yeah. I mean,
I've always said it semi-seriously, but to me, it means so much to me that, it is the greatest movie ever made.
But see, to your point, even if you're saying it as a joke, it wouldn't be out of bounds. It's not like you said something crazy like a movie that's fun, but a lot of people like to mistake as best of all time. Like, this isn't something like Highlander or something where people go great, or a frat boy comedy like Animal House where you're like, no, thank you. No. So, and I'm not saying anyone can't like it, but don't say best of all time. It's like, now this, yes, I can totally see why you would say this is best of all time, because the dance, unlike most movies, the dancing is part of it, but it serves the story versus just clogs up like the sewer pipe. I don't. I don't feel like other movies where it's just taking up some serious screen time and making you impatient. This isn't like some of those other lesser genre movies where you're just like, I just want you get to move on to the next movie part of the film because I'm getting bored. I want to see the content versus the story. It's like, no, I was pretty much interested in it all the way through. And it is yet another movie where I've seen again, like I would just see it on TV and just I would put it on, and even when the beats of the storyline, you kind of want to just see just a scene a day because it really is feel good. And it is so wild how most people kind of remember Sean's older brother Chris, rest in peace. Most people when they think of him, they're like, oh yeah, he was in Tarantino's movies. He was in Pale Riders and To Wong Fu and Rush Hour. I'm like, well, here's the thing. In this movie, this is kind of the role that made him, in that he basically, he legit could not dance in real life, and he worked that into his performance. It's like, you're going to be the guy who gets taught how to dance. Now, unlike Flashdance, like you say, HD's been kind to the movie because even they do some interesting strategy of hiding Kevin's stunt doubles. Now, I can still watch a scene from the movie without being just like, oh, I totally saw his double. It's like, because they found enough guys who, legit had his same kind of physical build. And I'm not surprised by he had 4 stunt doubles. He had one stunt guy, 1 dance double, Peter Tram, and 2 gymnastics. I'm like, well, yeah, you have to. And it's a good example of you can be physically fit, but not have, again, be able to do every single physical maneuver. And don't you find it funny how, so like, just counting up the hits on here, I'm counting 8 hits from this damn film that are also in the movie. So like, there's a lot of commercials that love using nowadays Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise. And it's like, but yeah, Almost Paradise, Holding Up for a Hero, and Dancing in the Sheets. I'm Free by Heaven Helps the Man by Kenny Loggins, I think, is the better one, other than the main Footloose song. But yeah, it's like Somebody's Eyes, The Girl Gets Around by Sammy Hagar, and Never. But people for the longest time were wondering why isn't Hurt So Good by Mellencamp or Waiting for a Girl by Foreigner, which are in the movie, not on the soundtrack. So those have since been reintegrated.
Yeah, they did a 15th anniversary soundtrack that added all of those and
what's crazy for
mental
me,
health and all that.
Yeah, it is kind of mentally healing. But surprisingly, I don't really associate these songs with the movie, really, other than the main theme. Like, I guess just because some of those other songs, I mean, even the Bonnie Tyler song, like, got overused in everything else. And I'm a big Foreigner fan, but I just always thought Waiting for a Girl was just used on the radio a lot. But it's so wild. So, like, the soundtrack made the movie, but it really complimented it too, I feel. And I don't know. It's a tough...
Yeah, because I think the original soundtrack was all the songs that were written specifically for the film. And then the 15th anniversary added the ones that they brought in.
Yeah.
Just to have some contemporary songs that already existed in it as well. I really like Footloose. I'm Free is a song I adore. I think I prefer it to Footloose.
Totally.
If I had to rank the soundtrack, I think I'm Free would be my favorite song from the soundtrack.
Well, totally. Kenny Loggins is a very talented guy, but yeah, I'm the same way. I just like Heaven Helps the Man.
Whether it's
like...
the better song or not is up for debate, and it has that great music video with a very young Virginia Madsen in it.
Oh, I did not know about the music video. I'm not surprised. I've known about a lot of music videos, and I actually occasionally will direct them. I love them, but it's interesting how just...
I think in the music video, Kenny Loggins has broken out of prison so he can get back to his love, which is Virginia Madsen. Which is fair enough.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So I wonder if that's a special feature on any DVD or Blu-ray release. That maybe not for music rights, but it should be. But I mean, that's what's so wild though too, is like they could have easily written the main character as an ex-con.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, they don't. But
I think that could work. I think it's more interesting that Ren is generally a decent kid who just keeps getting caught up in these situations that are not his fault. The kid who offers him a joint and
it's almost like a Western. That's kind of
fights
how
he doesn't want to get into.
Yeah. Totally. Well, and look at the people who were slated to play this. Like, this really is legit good casting. Now, take some of these with a grain of salt. So it's like, again, we got the main character, Ren, Kevin Bacon. We got the female lead, Ariel, the Reverend's daughter, Lori Singer. And then, Surrogate Jessica Parker, never been better as Rusty. Since then, she's just been in just very schlocky, rom-coms and everything. It's like, but here, she legit got the assignment back in the 80s because she was just always doing dramatic everyday stuff, so Willard was Chris Penn's character. But yeah,
and John Laughlin as Woody, who's an actor who's always overlooked, is really good in this in that small part.
He has done everything. He has done big movies, small movies
2 episodes of Murder, She Wrote.
Totally. Movies that are hated, movies that are loved, then gets into B-movie villain.
He has that great moment in The Rock where they're saying about how many people will die from the fallout of the missile hitting San Francisco.
A scene that is often forgotten, even though there's a lot of good actors playing all the Joint Chiefs. So, yeah, tell me which of these original castings you would have been behind had they not discovered Kevin Bacon from the movie Diner. And so it's like, yeah, Tom Cruise slated to play the lead. Producers were impressed with him because of Risky Business. He was unavailable because he's filming all, the sports drama, All the Right Moves. And Rob Lowe auditioned 3 times and had the dancing ability, neutral teen look the director wanted, but an injury prevented him from taking the part.
I like Rob Lowe a lot. I'm a big West Wing fan, so that helps.
Me too.
Rob Lowe is too charming, I think, to be Ren. Kevin Bacon brings a nice awkwardness to Ren.
He might have been
he's
better.
portraying a confidence. Like when he's first going through the school corridor, he's trying to portray a confidence, but at the same time, he's massively out of his depth.
Totally. He might have been better. Oh, speaking about his death, he might have been better as Willard, the kid who can't dance, who Ren teaches.
Yeah.
But like you say, I would have lived with it, but it might have just been too cool for its own good. There are unfortunately moments where it's like, yeah, because here's the thing, like Kevin just feels vulnerable. Like he's going to react like a normal human and then kind of, I don't know. He's so hardened. He's not Ed Harris or William Dafoe level, but he does have that kind of, I could be anything because he's just, the camera speaks to him. And
yeah, him and John Lithgow have great moments of micro acting. The bit after they've changed the mill over, ready for the dance, and the lights go on and everybody's celebrating. He's sitting there and he's got a smile on his face, and then it just sort of drops a little bit. And I don't know whether it's intentional or not, but there's sort of a look on his face like, oh shit, I've done it.
Yeah. He lives with some
sort of the weight of that. And John Lithgow has some lovely ones as well, like at the book burning. I love when he realizes that he's become part of the problem that's created this.
Oh, and that's what I like too. People act like the barn fights are more intense than they actually are. They feel realistic, so they don't feel gratuitous. I've never heard anyone say this movie is way too violent. I do feel like it is just so realistically portrayed. Something you would see probably in some other like backwards town, like especially during a lynch mob era. When they show the rock being thrown through like the house, I think that's an interesting way of looking at that, because like there's a lot of instigators in this storyline, and he's looking for any reason to shut down this dance. He's like, see, someone threw a rock into my house in protest. That's why I want to say no to this.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Did we ever figure out who did throw that rock? Who was the instigator?
I think,
not that
I'm assuming it was Chad and his friends.
Probably, so, but I
There's
like
a whole thing in the novelization where they set
there's a
fire
novelization.
to.
Oh man,
Yes, I've got it somewhere. And there's actually pictures of it, so I'm guessing they shot it. They set fire to the fields around the mill, and they go to Chet's dad's house because he's the fire marshal, and he won't send out the fire crews to put it out, and says it's the next town over, so they have to send theirs, and it's this whole thing, and it just adds a bit extra boo hiss to the villains of it. I'd love to know, like I say, there's a picture of it in the stills in the novelization, so I'd love to know whether they did actually shoot it. And
totally. That's
deleted
always the
scenes
best
are not
part.
on the Blu-ray, so
That's always the best part, though, when you see these promo images, you're like, "Wow, that's clearly from a deleted scene or only in the trailer." This is definitely, without a doubt, she's a chameleon. She's been in so many movies to where half the time I do not recognize her, but she is a cinematic great, and without fail, this is probably the first time I've ever seen Diane Weiss in a movie.
Yeah.
And she's the Reverend's wife who's more supportive, like, oh, let the kids be kids,
She's, again, her character's got a lot more in the novelization. She has that great moment where she tells Eleanor to sit down. Mr. McCormick has a right to be heard. That's a great hero moment, given that she's quite quiet throughout the whole film.
She's quite
she projects
quiet.
The good Reverend's wife.
That's just it. And we've all had someone like that. We've had someone who just basically just, for lack of a better word, is like they're kind of sitting quiet. They're not a coward, but they're kind of silently protesting. Is like, well, let me find a way to make this work, And nowadays, people in today's world are going to be like, oh yeah, and, she was in every other Woody Allen film. She was in HBO,
and she was great in them.
No, she's always good, but.
She was the DA or the interim DA for a few seasons of Law and Order as well, or a season or two.
And I loved her on that because she was more gentle with her leanings, and people were like, "Oh, she's not tough enough." I'm like, I like it when they change up the cast on those. But
so was she between Stephen Hill and
Dalton?
Dalton,
yeah, Fred Dalton, and I thought that was and I thought that was a good breather, but. Yeah, here, I mean, nowadays people are going to be like, oh, yeah, she's on Only Murders, she's on Married Kingstown, and Law and Order.
Great in Life in Pieces, the sitcom that ran for about 4 years as well. That's the mum.
Doesn't get
married
enough
to James
love.
Brolin.
Doesn't get enough love. And
the show was great.
It's so funny. She and James Brolin also play a couple in Tina Fey and Amy Poehler's sisters, but I kind of feel my sister and I have often joked that in Footloose, you could easily say that she's playing the same character in The Birdcage. It's like she has a case, and I don't think that's a typecast. I think it's just what the role necessitates. She likes playing these gentle people who are married to hardened men, and she's having to remind them to find their humanity again. It's like, why don't you think you're being a hard ass? It's just saying it without saying it. It's just, and other good stuff like Little Man Tate, Lost Boys, and Parenthood. So I take it back. Parenthood was probably the first one. I just didn't remember that because we mainly remember Mary Steenburgen, Steve Martin, Martha Plimpton,
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu would have actually worked in this movie. I think he could have been one of the bullies or friends who learns how to dance. That could have worked too. He was athletic. And this is before,
I think they got the casting in this spot on. To be fair, there's a couple of characters that are there that seem to disappear throughout the film.
By no means do I want to it's anyone selected.
Ultimate universe.
Totally. This is kind of just a what if. I do think it's wise that they did not allow Michael Cimino to do this because remember, this is the guy. He's already been a script doctor for years on some Clint Eastwood movies, and then makes the award-winning smash success, The Deer Hunter. Then and I'm a fan of Heaven's Gate.
Film.
Oh, okay. Well, it is traumatic. It's all good.
It's just one of those films. Everybody told me it was amazing, so when I actually finally watched it, I was like, I hate everything about this film. It's awful.
No, it's all good. And I like Heaven's Gate, but I understand why people don't like it. That being said,
I've still never seen Heaven's Gate. To be fair,
in all fairness, though, it's kind of like Waterworld of its day and age, where because it takes
I might
so
like
long,
it then because I like Waterworld.
I do too. But and I'm not just saying that. I legit love both these movies, but at the same time, those are both examples of they were dead on arrival because of chaotic behind the scenes
Yeah.
stories, and you also can't justify why it's that expensive other than director being high on his kite. So yeah, when Paramount approaches them, they're like, "This is the guy who always comes in late and asks for more money to get high and everything." So hell no. I do.
Yeah.
I'm just glad Herbert Ross had his moment in the sun because they did approach Ron Howard. He does Splash instead. I'm like, yeah, this is better with Herbert because Ron, for all his talent, he's still making movies. I don't think he would have had great dance numbers. He would have had to hire outside help that would have probably not been reliable. Looking at who else was approached as the independent daughter Ariel, and you're gonna laugh at some of these choices. They have Havlon Morris, who's best known for she is now retired from the industry, but she was also a Broadway darling. She had been in Reckless and 16 Candles already that same year, and she later goes on to other stuff like Home Alone Free, Gremlins 2, just independent stuff, and a lot of American Playhouse performances. But I love it. It's like Madonna auditions for that along with Morris, and sitcom darling Valerie Bartonelli and dramatic actress Jennifer Jason Leigh are also considered. And then I love this part. Circa Jessica Parker's part almost gets considered to go to Tracy Nelson. And so I'm just like, see, those are reasonable actors in their own right. Say what you want about Madonna, but it's like that changes the movie. It's kind of like if you put Schwarzenegger in a movie, it's already been corrupted because it's a whole different movie now. It's not. For a man who's known for being charismatic and not necessarily an actor, it's like that's such a different.
Yeah, it's like the idea of, to mention The Rock again, Schwarzenegger as Stanley Ipkiss.
Yes, he was supposed to be in that movie, and
I do love that. Don Simpson coked out of his head, came into his trailer, and was like, "I've got like part of a script, and this won't be this one." It's like, Don, go away.
Yeah, Don,
come back with the script, or just no.
So this is why this movie is better. Is the producers were Louis J. Rathmill and Craig Zadan, and not Don Simpson.
Yeah.
Now that being said, Craig Zadan is known for working on other musicals like the infamous Chicago and the Reasonable Hairspray. So I mean, oh god, he did produce.
I think Herbert Ross was the right choice. There's enough in his back catalogue that brings the skills he needs to do this film and do it well.
He's done dramas, he's done comedies, he's even done serious thrillers, and he always has dancing down to a T. So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
That's so well though that Craig Zadan has done a lot of Wonderful World of Disney type stuff. So he stayed in his cage. He brought the budget. Louis J. Rothmill. It's interesting. You look at his credits, and most of his movies are kind of war and Western spectacles. And Footloose is like literally his final movie. Like he dies that same year. So he went out on a high note.
Yeah, because I mean, Herbert Ross was old by the time he did this as well.
The closest thing I have to a comedy that these guys have done, like this guy has been working since 1908, and he does stuff like Carnival Lady and Spectre Clouseau, and Gidget. But yeah, Herbert Ross. Oh man, we lost him in 2001, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, because he did a few things afterwards. He did a lot of producing as well. Obviously, like you say, produced Soap Dish.
It pretty much tells me he wanted to do some other stuff, and so this is
like
where
you say, last film was Boys on the Side, which
yeah, and great soundtrack. I'll leave it at that. But like,
yeah,
that's I wouldn't be surprised if he got into some studio politics, much like Laurie Singer, where he's like, I don't like what pay rate or script you're offering me, so I'm not going to say yes. I'll get a producer credit by suggesting people better suited who I want to give a shot at it. I wouldn't be surprised if they labeled him as difficult. And it's like, well, generally dance choreographers are difficult because they want to get it right. So difficult as in I'm asking questions and you're not listening or hearing me out. The remake was dedicated to his memory, so that's cool. Apparently a lot of his stars spoke of him at his funeral, so that's cool. Yeah, but
the dance stuff in this is really good for a town that had outlawed dancing. There's a lot of kids who can dance really well, which I know people have always sort of taken the mickey out of, but I kind of like the idea that they were just secretly practicing in their room.
Totally. That says a lot. Remember, Herbert
and
Ross...
it's kind of seen like when they go to the diner, which I really want to know how far away that diner is. Because it seems to take Ariel and that all afternoon because it's night by the time they get there. But then later on, they seem to pop there after school. It's like,
well, Herbert Ross did pretty good for being married to a Kennedy.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That doesn't quite have... It meant more then than it does now.
I know. I couldn't resist.
At least he didn't marry a Kennedy who probably swam in sewage. Or, picked up roadkill. Sorry.
I know. That's funny.
But this, it just really works. Like I say, I first saw it when I was about 12, I think. I came home from school. My dad and my brother had been off work and school, respectively sick, and they were starting to watch it. And they were like, "Do you want to watch this with us?" I was like, well, "That'll do homework. I don't really care about this dance movie." And yeah, I was sucking into it. I watched it again the next day. And then next time it was on telly, I taped it. And I rewatched that over and over again. Then eventually bought my own copy on video.
Oh, sweet. I love it.
I thought I'd found the original TV taping, but I must have used the tape for something else. So I only had the last half of the film on. Still watched it.
But it's not uncommon, though. Like, there are tapes I have watched for years, and I was always surprised that I never wore them out. Like, it's like, how did I keep this in good condition? I literally watch this every day, and then an hour later. So there was.
I think, with the exception of Betamax, I've bought this on every format, and Laserdisc.
Man, dude, that's fucking awesome. Okay, so, riddle me this: that there is some other alternate casting in Flashdance, and take these with a grain of salt, guys. I know that most of these are copied over from just tells in the industry, let alone IMDb. Some of these probably, again, I'll say when they're considered, which again, there is a difference. That means that, again, they were not actually audition. It's just someone threw out their name in a studio pitch meeting, and
it's like when that list came out of all the people that were potentially in line for RoboCop, and the people they wanted, the people they considered.
That one hurt my mind.
It's like William Peterson's on there. I love William Peterson, but I could never see him as RoboCop. He was one of the serious contenders.
He's a great actor. I don't find him flat, but he would have been unintentionally robotic because he would have played it too straight. And is like, you need someone who can have a hell of a voice and stand out underneath that armor. So some of these I would have liked. Some of these might have actually fixed the age gap problem, because that's what we do. We do constructive stuff. Considered for the male lead of Nick, yes, Kevin Costner is who the studio wants. He's the runner-up. Some of these others I could get behind. Others are like, what the fuck are you thinking? So it's like, I'm going to riddle some of these off. And it's like, some of these you're going to just laugh. You're like, man, we think they do copy and paste today. They really did it back then. Like, this one rivals the bad options they were thinking of for Die Hard, where it's like, no, that would have been a terrible choice for John McClane, or they even did it with the similar movie Speed, where they wanted Alan Rickman, and he's like, hell no, now you're typecasting me. So it's like, they considered Pierce Brosnan, Robert De Niro, Richard Gere, Mel Gibson, Tom Hanks, Jack Nicholson, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, and John Travolta are considered. Burt Reynolds is offered, but declines due to scheduling conflicts. He likely...
That would have been a massive age gap.
Totally. And realistically, if he doesn't want to do it, he doesn't want to do it unless, ka-ching.
I know this is still early 80s, but you think how long Burt Reynolds has been around by that point?
He had been around so long, since the 60s.
He's been playing divorced men for a while. So.
Totally.
And I know this is a divorced man as well, but it's just...
Hey, nothing wrong with being divorced as long as you learn from it. But
No, it's just sort of the age that comes with that in that era. It's kind of like,
yeah.
If you're a divorced man, you're usually in your 40s by this point.
Oh, well, true.
I mean, Tom Hanks, I can kind of see. I don't think he would have been right. But
he would have been too smooth. He would have been too nice. You would have to change the tone to where it's a little less, because that's just it. It's not gritty, but it is kind of grim at first, where she's getting picked on by the thugs. Yeah. I'm glad that movie avoids what other movies were doing, where it's like, I gotta be a prostitute, gotta be a drug dealer, gotta be abused or assaulted. It's like, no, that it avoids that, but it definitely could have had the bullies come back and then Nick just puts it in their face and gets arrested by cops. That would have been more dramatically rewarding. I did it for love, but no, I could totally see Pierce Brosnan. He would have been fresh off. He would have realistically, he wouldn't have been allowed because, that's why they announced him as James Bond and then had to push it back a few more years later because they would not find time in his schedule. They're like, we need you on set at all times, which is why I'm so glad he's back to TV, because he's like, I swore it off for a while because they would not give me any freedom unless it was a miniseries. But I could see that. Nicholson, see, here's the thing. He was in a lot of hit movies for many decades, but the studios loved him so much they would automatically put him on here. So that's another example of, okay, you love him, but is he right for this? I don't really think so. If anything, he should have been that failed stand-up comedian or bartender. Totally. That might have been funny. De Niro, no, can't see that. I like him, but this is kind of like how he's the original choice for Big. Again, you're just copy and pasting his name because he's in movies that are good and make money. Mel Gibson, yeah, he would have had the hair and charm. Say what you will about him, his shitty persona now. John Travolta, no. See, again, that's probably would have been a Brian De Palma pick. That's just a copy and paste. He's been in other dancing movies. And Joe Pesci, what the hell are you thinking? He's not handsome.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Costner,
that would be the film.
The only thing with Costner is I think he would have been. Costner would have been, I think, too intense.
He would have been too intense, and knowing him, he unfortunately would have wanted to make it be about him, which I can totally get.
Yeah.
He is more bearable than some of the other egos, because, Eddie was smooth, but would just say every joke sucks except mine. And Stallone, forget about it. Now, unless I take it over and make it even worse, or make it bearable, but still piss people off in the process. So it's like, yeah, Costner was that in between where he would have good choices, but he wouldn't be the best at explaining it. So as a result, he ends up clashing with some directors. So yeah, he would have been too intense. He might have been better as the bully, who was just like, or he could have been the bad guy. That would have been fun. And so, yeah.
I think you'd have to make Nick a bit more schlubby. Costner, when he does like Tin Cup, swing vote, that sort of thing, where he's schlubby charming.
I love your deep cuts, though, by the way. Like, you were doing movies that everyone ignores now and only occasionally are seen like on Nintendo channels. It's like, sometimes it helps to just have a feel-good movie that's just takes reasonable risks, but, like, what you just mentioned there with swing votes is like, those are the kinds of movies kind of like Whoopi Goldberg's The Associate, or some of the other feel-good movies Morgan Freeman or Jeff Bridges have been in, where you're just like, that's a good movie, but everyone at the time attacked those kinds of movies because, it didn't take enough risks. It's like, it kind of took what little it needed to just to be good. But yeah, no, it's like, yeah, Costner, I would love as the bully. Brosnan, I would have been okay with as the boss. He would have been charming in a not too crazy.
And I think the age difference would have worked better as well.
He would have definitely been way younger than Michael Nouri. He was almost, getting there. So, and again, I like Nouri, but Travolta and De Niro, no, thank you. That Richard Gere's on here again. He would have had the charm, but he wouldn't have been as charismatic.
I think Richard Gere would have been too similar to what we got anyway.
exactly. He would have at that point, it would have been a disservice to him because he was already typecast to hell as the erotic, handsome lead. So,
The chemistry might have been slightly better, but
and Pacino, again, in a better movie, he would have been better as like a music producer, I think would have been funny. But yeah, Joe Pesci, he should be the failed stand-up comedian jock, and Nicholson should be the bartender who says, "Give it your shot, kid."
Yeah.
The rest of these actors are either wrong for this or should be supporting, not the lead as Nick. And so, other than Brosnan, which I can get behind, and Gibson, I would have been okay, but then it would have been he would still be growing as an actor at that point, fresh off Mad Max, so before Lethal Weapon. So
yeah, it would have been before Gibson was huge. So
he did dramatic stuff like Miss Stuffle and The River, but again, those were art house, Gallipoli, but those were art house movies that weren't as seen by many, and he often just looked to the screen and kind of did what Harrison Ford and Dennis Quaid did earlier in their career, where they just had good body language that came across well. But it's like, yeah, that would have all relied on the movie versus what I bring to the role. So
yeah, young Dennis Quaid would have been interesting. Unfortunately, he was also massively into his cocaine at that point as well. So
yeah, he would have been. Sadly, he was doing Jaws 3 and the pretty good but critically ignored at the time Enemy Mine. So he was in the spectacles back then. He did some other football movies, but yeah, like you say, he would have been too drugged out. There's some other roles on here that a lot of them I really think work, and I'll tell you, the two others who it came down, who it came down to. Spoiler: one of them's who became the lead. So Jamie Lee Curtis, so it all comes back to her. Bo Derek, Bridget Fonda, Jennifer Grey, Melanie Griffith, Daryl Hannah, Helen Hunt, Jennifer Jason Leigh again, Andy McDowell, Demi Moore, Tatum O'Neal, Michelle Pfeiffer, Sharon Stone, and Deborah Winger are considered as the lead role of Alex in Flashdance. And so again, Jennifer Bills, Demi Moore, and Leslie Wing, who wasn't even in that original casting session, or who are considered, and Bills emerged as the victor. See, even before it said that trivia, I was thinking Demi Moore. It's like, yeah, that's kind of who I think of when I think of the 80s.
yeah,
Like Rob Lowe, that was charisma all over. But yeah, instead she did About Last Night and some other just fun movies. But it's like, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the consideration of Jennifer Grey is what led her to her later dance movies. And Curtis, maybe, but I don't know. That you would have had to definitely give her a little more meat on the bone to where she could really sink her teeth into the drama. Because again, she was mainly just doing kind of supporting stuff, or slashers before she got into the comedy stuff. Fonda would have been way too young, so that's out for me. And I like Melanie Griffith. I don't see her in this role. I really don't. And it just doesn't have that sparkle or jazz. And
yeah, I think what works so well about Jennifer Beals is she's got those big eyes.
yeah,
I mean, they're
It's
beautiful eyes, but
a
it
doll
portrays
face,
that sort of
but
innocence of the character, and also
vulnerability. Yeah,
slightly broken down.
I would have really liked Michelle Pfeiffer in this. I doubt. And again, much like Richard Gere, I like Sharon Stone, but that would have been typecast city. That would have been. And
I think
Andy
I
McDowell
don't
would
think
have
Michelle
been.
Pfeiffer would have touched it after Grease 2. As much as I love Grease 2, and it is the superior Grease film, and I will stand by that.
I will back you up on that because the first movie is kind of too nutty, too ditzy, too dorky, and movie 2 it's nothing like that, and that's a good thing because it's kind of more of a high school movie with dance thrown in just to get your attention. So that's why it works more naturally. But dude, this is where we die by the sword. Anyway,
I would like to have seen somebody like maybe Andrew McCarthy he would have been in his early 20s, so you'd have to rewrite the character. Maybe he inherited it from his dad or something.
I could see that. I could totally see that. And this is during the time where he's never been difficult, but he never embraced the Brat Pack thing. Hence why he and Amelia made a documentary about that. I would have liked
Really
seeing.
disappointing documentary.
Yeah, it needed a little more meat on the bone because unfortunately, most people talk about, and it goes against what they intended, where they're like, "Man, there's such whiny bitches." I'm like, "Yeah, they kind of are whiny."
Yeah.
It's interesting for that first half when they're focusing again on Rob Lowe, Demi, even the other ones who are loosely connected, like Patrick Swayze, Kiefer. It's like, but then they kind of
Yeah.
the last part is just whine, whine, whine. I'm like, Jesus, I know you don't mean to sound grateful, but shut up. Yeah, so these other people, see, I'm surprised Madonna is in the running. So Andy McDowell, likable, but I don't think she would have. She was too inexperienced at that time. Helen Hunt, she's a comedian. She's not as great dramatically, in my opinion. Jennifer Jason Leigh would have been too serious. So I'm just not getting that want to be a dancer attitude. She might have been better as like a dance instructor or one of the best friends who's hardened, you know. Bo Derek, see, she's a model. She's not an actress. So I don't. And Deborah Winger, I've never been a fan. Yeah, I totally would have been down for Michelle Pfeiffer, even though, like you say, she would have said no instantly because actors took criticism really seriously back then. Even though I think this might have really made her career. Tatum O'Neal, unfortunately, as talented as she is also known for being just as she's a bully, much like her dad Ryan, who was on drugs and also an asshole to many a person in between. And Ryan, we got to remember, he was the boy next door who was often miscast in famous movies. So,
I don't think he ever really bettered What's Up, Doc.
Pretty much. Daryl Hannah, I like. I don't think she would have done this either, though. She seems to me like, you got to remember. So, 83, 84, she's already doing the Pope of Greenwick Village. So, which ironically
she's fresh off Blade Runner and
she can dance, and she is implied to be a dance instructor like during the day in that one of those movies. So I mean, yeah, I see again Daryl and Lee as the supporting, maybe Melanie Griffith, maybe Jamie Lee Curtis would have been awesome as one of the strip club bartenders. That would have been funny, but yeah, Andy McDowell and would have been too inexperienced. Helen Hunt and Tatum completely wrong. And Sharon, I don't think she would have been ready for it again. So I would totally get behind Michelle Pfeiffer, but realistically, it should have been Demi Moore. I think, yes, I think this would have made her.
I think out of the list, it is, if we're not having Jennifer Beals, I think it is between Demi Moore and Michelle Pfeiffer. Either of those, I would have been like,
instead she gets striptease, which is not a good movie anyway.
But it does have the wonderful Free Willy thing, where Ving Rhames just keeps trying to get it and nobody's bringing it back to the video shop.
So this is what this needed. This needed Ving Rhames as a bouncer. That would have been funny. They might have actually given him a line.
Thing of the legacy of Flashdance that I do love. I don't know if you've ever seen the film The Full Monty.
I love that movie.
The bit where they're watching Flashdance with the dancer and they're like, "This is ridiculous." They're like, "Yeah, you're right. That well would never hold." The critique in a well
would have never hold. See, there's another movie everyone has seen, but most people have seen on cable TV, so they don't realize how it actually has some brief, infrequent language and nudity at the end. It's like, I miss when they actually modified more movies for cable TV, or let alone the network. And nowadays, so many of them just will play it uncut and just play stuff that's easy to modify. It's like, see, it's easy. There's a lot of good movies. Oh, God.
Yeah, they never really seem to do that as much over here. That seemed to be more an American thing. They just put
now they don't bother.
9 o'clock.
Yeah, and they used to have.
It still happens though now with like the James Bond films. They do cuts in which are really jarring. They're not well done. License to Kill is a nightmare to watch when they try and show it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday.
It's actually pretty bad on cable TV because now they'll fast forward for the music, so now it sounds very awkward. I'm like, I know you're pressed for time, but come on. It's like, that music doesn't sound that way, and you know it.
But yeah, it's the TV edit and the alternate swear words, melon farmer, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah, that and those are never gonna play. But see, it was at least a amusing try. Now it just goes to blank and it's just unwatchable. It's like, especially
Yeah.
with every gangster movie, you're like, why am I watching this for free? Well, and so one of these ranks in top 10 Jansen movies, and I'm not surprised. Like, one of them is just a flat out crowd pleaser. It's like pretty hard to screw that up. And yet, I'm really surprised at the mediocre score. When I was researching this last night, I was like, really? Okay. I can't get behind that. I'll hear you out. It's kind of like when you have to realize it's like, uh, you know, I'm at a loss of words.
I wonder if maybe just more people who were the right age when the film came out or discovered it sort of in the 90s like I did, because I've never bothered to go on IMDb and review it on there or reviewed it on Letterboxd. But yeah, I wonder whether if more people sort of my age went on and reviewed it, that I'd bring that average up a bit. But it does seem low, and Flashdance has got a really low one as well on there on IMDb. IMDb reviews, a bit like Rotten Tomato reviews, to be honest.
Yes.
I enjoy reviews. I enjoy hearing other people's opinions, especially if they differed from mine, but I don't take them as gospel. It's interesting sometimes to watch a film that you enjoyed with a negative criticism. It's what I always liked about, obviously, we have Barry Norman over here. You had Siskel and Ebert.
Oh,
and
man.
then in the YouTube age, I can now watch loads of old episodes of Siskel and Ebert on YouTube, which I went through a period of just watching whatever was on there. I watched loads of them. And I miss that you don't get stuff like that on TV anymore. You don't get those sort of critics that are, for want of a better term, celebrities in their own right. And film criticism and film discussion on TV, especially over here, is a completely different beast.
It is. And it's so wild, though. The Brits still have good TV. Like, you guys have figured it out in that make it be just 6 episodes and 90 minutes. It's pretty hard to screw up.
Yeah.
It really is. But yeah, you got Barry Norman. I'm not a fan of Mark Kermode, but don't get me wrong. US has way more hack critics where, even back in the day, in the 80s and 90s, you look at how many reviews were practically slut shaming their stars. And you're just like, did you really just get paid to say that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's shocking what passed as review worthy. I don't mind Mark Kermode. He seems to have mellowed a lot.
It's just he's pretty
recently. I don't always agree with his reviews.
I was a fan of.
I've watched a couple of films that were his films of the year, and I've just been like, really? Okay.
Sometimes he's sarcastic, and I'm like, why are you being that way?
But we're in an interesting time with film at the moment, with things like Obsession and Backrooms and that sort of dominating the summer. I think film is an interesting thing again. I'd like to see it go back a bit more to taking a swing with films like Flashdance, Footloose.
Yeah, that's a good segue. That's actually a good place to conclude on. It's like, if we were to do today's dance movies, what would we do to make them not be just over flashy, over stylized, and actually in an integral part of the story? Do kind of a Karate Kid, Rocky kind of thing. I'm not even a Karate Kid guy, but I understand its appeal. And so, what can we do to where we actually do similar montages? What filmmakers could we even bring in? Because people who I love definitely wouldn't do this nowadays. Maybe Denis Villeneuve might try his hand at that, but I doubt it. He's mainly doing gritty dramas and epics. So I'm trying to think of which of today's filmmakers. Maybe Scott Cooper. He did the Springsteen movie, but that wasn't really great.
I really like the Springsteen movie.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Massive Springsteen fan as well, but
I'm a fan too.
I really liked what they did with that film. Given the generic music biopics we've had recently that all seem to follow the same formula.
Trust me, there are many generic ones. Like, they did not do Queen justice. Like, they kind of just skipped over.
And I just can't with Michael.
Yeah.
Beyond, great music, terrible man.
True. And I'm not really buying the whole defense the studio said. It's like, how did you not clear the legal papers? And it's just like,
I don't think they're ever going to make that second movie because it'd be it's not what people want from a music biopic. They want the songs that they love and that. I'd always thought it'd be interesting to see somebody like Cameron Crowe do a movie like this. A guy who's steeped in music. I mean, he doesn't really do anything directing-wise anymore, unfortunately. But obviously with his history with working for Rolling Stone from a teenager through to almost famous and that sort of thing, I think that would be an interesting director. I think it would be a fairly straightforward film. I don't think it'd be particularly adventurous, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think part of the problem with trying to come up with that for me is I'm not massively in touch with modern music.
Oh, and that's just it. I think a lot of stuff, if you're not keeping up with it, it can be very hard to do. But
that you need to know your Dua Lipas and your whatevers. It's like my music, a few things bleed through, like a Chapel Roan, a Billie Eilish, a Taylor Swift, obviously sleep in through the zeitgeist. But
if we wanted to do just like an 80s throwback movie in today, I think it'd be achievable. But again, I don't know who we would pick. I really don't.
Yeah. I mean, Dexter Fletcher would be interesting with what he did with Rocket Man. But yeah, like you say, since like Step Up, Save the Last Dance, even Bring It On, that sort of thing, the dance or dance adjacent movies have kind of just dropped by the wayside.
Yeah.
I mean, in some ways, they're overdue a comeback.
They're overdue. And yet a lot of the greats who are associated with this have either passed away or not doing those kinds of movies anymore. So I think, like many successful things, unfortunately, a lot of people don't know why it works. They don't know how the sausage is made. So
I think the other danger would be they do it ironically. And I think you need to do, if you're going to do an 80s throwback particularly, you need to do it unironically. You don't want to take a Jonah Hill type approach.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Whereas, like, it's funny because they're taking it all so seriously.
He has good ideas, and yet he's really spoiled on his success. And it's like, no one asked you to direct. I didn't.
But yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see whether it would be for me, because I'm very much in a period of time. I wouldn't rule out watching them. Admittedly, like Step Up and that did nothing for me. I appreciated the dance stuff, but as a film, it was kind of, it's not for me, but that's fine. Those films were massively popular. They got like 80 directed DVD sequels. So.
Yeah.
All suspiciously missing Channing Tatum.
I think that's the other problem too, is like, he's a good dancer, but he's not really a charming lead. He really only works when he's dry or part of an ensemble. So I think that's the other problem too. A lot of the people we had could carry the movie on their own, and they were back in the day when they just went for raw natural talent. So it's like, I would like some of these other semi-known, just rising people. Coleman Domingo would totally do a kind of movie like this. Amy Adams might have the voice, but I don't think she wants to be typecast in music type movies. So I don't know. I really do. This is why it's a struggle, because it's like,
Yeah, it's such an unknown quantity at the moment. Again, I think they'll probably start looking to YouTube for stuff like that now. For their next big swings. Like we had with Carrie Barker with Obsession and with Backrooms and that. And I mean, they're going to take the wrong lessons from that. They are going to go to YouTube and just give anybody.
You are correct. That is why I wait for the hype to die down on any movie, good or bad, because I know then there's going to be 200 other clones Or people then want to argue, I actually like all the knockoffs better than the main movie. I'm like, okay, well, suit yourself. But like, I wait for the hype to die down so I can look at it more objectively. And sometimes movies that are, I've done it with too many action movies. People are like, you got to see this, you got to see the Raid. And I'm like, this is too mindless for me. I don't warm up to this like the other disaster films. And yeah, some of these other movies are going to take the wrong notes from Obsession. And
I mean, I was quite lucky with Obsession. I saw it before the hype really built. And I've discussed with Tom is that I'm waiting for the inevitable backlash to kick in.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if people who didn't see it in the cinema who are going to watch it on at home are going to be like, I don't get what all the fuss is about because it was such a see it in a cinema.
I'm seeing people who even are doing the whole like, it just they'll be like, oh, it doesn't hold up a year later. I'm like, then you really were compromised. Usually, I know I'm going to stick with a movie. There's very rare times where I see a movie again and been like, oh, I was high. You know, I'm not, but
generally, if I do feel down on a movie that I love, the next time I watch it, I'm back up there again. I think you hit a rut sometimes with a movie you love where you're just like, oh, I'm just seeing all the flaws in this and it's pissing me off.
There's a lot of movies that really don't do good by just seeing a clip of it. It doesn't do it any justice. And then there's others like I saw it at the right age and right time. I was very forgiving versus other movies where you're like, meh. It's like,
because at a certain age, any movie seems amazing. Even a movie you don't like, you're like, it must be amazing because they made it. They wouldn't throw all this money at a bad movie. I think it's only as you get older, you're like, yeah, no, this is compromised by multiple cooks in the kitchen and studio notes and test screenings and all the other shit that goes into bringing art to life.
Well, and it really says a lot to also take the time to process these movies, realize, why they stand out the way they do. I mean, in many ways, both these movies were kind of critic proof in a way. Cause Flashdance had some bullshit in it. It wasn't enough to be schlocky, but it also wasn't enough to be Breakin. Now, the funny thing is, I kind of feel like the studio at Paramount wanted a bigger budget version of a Breakin type movie, and then they got a way more quality movie, but it still was, because it was marketed for teen heartthrobs, the critics were quick to write it off, even though it's since, become more widely accepted in pop culture. I think if I encounter, and I hope I never encounter, much like Flashdance, I think people are going to steal music numbers and spoof Footloose, but most of the time it's just the iconic song, which I think I'll take versus other movies which are just going to ruin a beloved movie for me. So
I think, if it's done with affection, like even down to like Kevin Bacon when he was in that episode of Will and Grace.
Yes,
there was such an affection to it that you couldn't help but go along with it. I think as well, the big success of those two films is they knew they weren't targeting critics. They were targeting the MTV generation. It's why they had What a Feeling, Footloose, all these songs they could play on MTV.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the video to Footloose is just the angry dance scene, just cut slightly differently to fit in with the beat of Footloose instead of Never. So yeah, they knew the market they were aiming at. I think part of the problem now is that films are trying to appeal to everybody. It's like if you do a comic book movie, you don't want to. You got the comic book fans anyway, so they just try and aim at like different, multiple audiences, and they tend to miss them all. And then they piss off the comic book fans at their core audience because they tried so hard to. I mean, as they've embraced comic books a bit more now in filmmaking, it's got a bit easier. But like back in the days, like the mid-90s and that, and the first X-Men movie in that, where they're like, yeah, it's based on a comic book. It's like, sorry, it's what?
That's a good point, though. That is a good point, because like we are at a weird standstill where I feel like everybody, either their brain is fried or they don't want to be helpful, or they don't know what they want. So Now it's even more awkward. It's just like, it's kind of like a bad relationship. It's like, well, then get the fuck out of my house if we're going to just keep arguing all day. But I still got to hear the criticism because, like, it's kind of like technology. People can use AI the right way. Unfortunately, it's likely not going to be well used 99% of the time. Because
it will be like any technology, it will be used to replace people.
I trust Steven Soderbergh. I don't trust many of these other idiots because they're going to overthink so much. So much.
Yeah, I'm dubious of. Obviously, you had the Andrew Garfield, Luca Guadagnino movie that Amazon are now putting out for somebody else to buy, but nobody wants to touch it. A24 is to put into bed with Google AI, and it's just kind of like, it's like, yes, it could be a useful tool to use as well as, but I think, as with everything, it's looking at cutting overheads, which means replacing people with machine. And also, it's just bad for the environment. And that's not cool.
See, this is a winning combo, my dude. Because, like, ladies and gents, Stuart Mulrain has basically kind of hit on why so many people just shut each other out and just aren't receptive. Like, we just have so many who want, and the studio execs are mainly to blame because they're just jumping on the stuff. They don't know why it works. They just want to sell more of the product, damaged or not.
Yeah. That's it. That's the trouble. It's the problem with studios being owned by businesses rather than filmmakers.
That's why George Lucas got out of it. And so it's like, you can shit talk George Lucas. I got no beef. Dude had a failed marriage. He risked everything. He ultimately got to where it's just like, but he has that immortal line is like, studio execs are not filmmakers. It's like, where's the lie?
Yeah.
Where's the lie? I got nothing. I got no lie there. No.
That's it. It's just, yeah. Unfortunately, it's art for the sake of money instead of art for art's sake.
And I'm going to cry like a baby when most of these people die because, again, they will have taken their info on why certain stuff works to the ground as well. So it's just like, please take note. Right now, I really dug Spielberg's new movie. I had so many others who were like, worst fucking movie I've seen in my life. David Koch should retire as a screenwriter. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, really? We're going to tell the guy who wrote Panic Room and Jurassic Park to retire? Okay, whatever.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
For me, I liked Disclosure Day when I watched it. It's going to be a second viewer for me as whether it's a 2-star or a 4-star film. I will also say that Close Encounters is a film I went on a journey with, from watching it the first time and being like, I do not get why people like this film. Going back every couple of years, trying it again, to finally last year catching it on TV and just being completely mesmerized and hooked by it. And it finally clicked with me. And I love that about certain films. It's like, you will keep trying to engage with them, and eventually they'll either click or you'll just be like,
I have that with liking a movie. Like, I always pretty much just say straight up is like 3 viewings at the most to see if I like this or not. Give it a chance. Sometimes even to just see it more objectively. 6 is my limit. If I don't like it on any of the 6 viewings, I'm fucking done. Can't do it. I've given it. And the thing is, a movie I should get most of it. I don't have to get all of it. But I also, like, my rule of thumb is I cannot exit stage right at a movie and be like, I still got some lingering questions, and they don't feel like they're meant that way. They feel like a legit plot hole. But if you're also so naive to where I have to go on Collider or Ain't It Cool just to feel how actually think for myself, then you really are a sheep. It's like, if someone can give me a convincing argument, I have on rare occasions surrendered my viewpoint where I've been like, you're completely right. This is a piece of shit. And I'm a fool for taking the bait. But it's a good looking mess. So that's why I gave it a chance. But then there are other ones where it's like, no, and no. You're just overthinking this way too much. And then there are other ones where it's like, just let's just be real for it right now. It's like, this movie is the way it is because just the factors that be have deemed it this way. The audience is going to vary on it because it's really based on what your mood is right when you see it. But that's also to blame on the studio needs to get the memo. They also need to do more in-studio type trailers because the marketing, hiring all these trailer creating companies, they don't get it. I really don't think they get it because I do not watch trailer. Like I hated the trailer for Disclosure Day. I still was going to see it because I was sold on the premise. And
that trailer massively missold that movie.
That trailer sucked. But I also have said before, the trailer's not the movie. And trailers by default nowadays really suck. They don't make you feel like you want to see it. It just adds more confusion. So, but again, if I am reading it by itself, I generally get the memo. So and that's kind of what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Well, all good. I'm glad I could have another great guest. So I will let you plug away the podcast. What is and why not pod up to next?
And Why Not is a podcast in which a guest comes on to talk about a movie they love, and then we just sort of see where the conversation takes it from there. So it's, for example, somebody will come on and talk about Star Trek 6, and then the conversation sort of circles around the film, but also tangential things connected to the film within that person's life, how they first saw the film, why it means so much to them, and then just any weird stories connected to it. It's a positive film program rather than this is why this film sucks. As much as I love things like how did this get made, and how did this get made is a bad example because they generally put a positive spin on bad films. But there's too many. Yeah, this film sucked, and here's why. I like to do things where people come on and talk about a film they love. I don't think we've ever had an episode where everybody talking about it has hated the film. I try and find somebody that loves the film.
Well, it's also, I have encountered in the past, and this is another example of when something is wrong. So people will go, I don't feel like I can talk about it. I don't like it. I'm like, well, that's not always necessarily true. I got a mountain full of notes, and the deal is to make it not be a rant. It can't be just, and I hate, and I hate, and I really hate. And it's like, oh, thanks. That makes me feel better. And now I have, of course, on rare occasions said, I'm not going to be able to be constructive.
Yeah, I have seen films that I have detested. The Roses recently was a film I could not stand. Absolutely detested everything about that film. So yeah, I'd struggle to talk positively about that one. But yeah, I just think something that talks positively about film that is just a conversation, isn't necessarily a structured thing. Just it's a bit rambling sometimes. It won't be for everybody, but the people who do listen to it like it, which is cool. I'd rather 30 people love the podcast and 3,000 people listen to it. Be like, it was all right, something to listen to, wasn't it? So we do that, which is And Why Not. You can follow us on, obviously you can get that wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Instagram and Threads. That's the only two socials we do. We've got a Blue Sky, but I don't use it anymore. And then we've seen these movies, which is myself and my friend Tom, where we talk about something new we've watched, a film we've rewatched, and then what we call intention fails, which is films that have been on our list to watch for a while, but we just haven't got round to for whatever reason. So I think that one of my first ones was Amadeus, a film I've always been meaning to watch and finally watched. We discuss the films without going into spoilers, whereas on And Why Not, we go into spoilers. We assume you've seen the film before you listen. And then, we've seen these films. It's a bit more like a review show. And then we've got a 3-tier rating system of buy it, borrow it, or bin it. And, it's our opinion. Other people's mileage on what we chuck in a bin it would be different. But, it's just a bit of fun. It's not to be taken seriously. It's just people talking about movies they've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you can find that we've seen these movies, and that one's also got an Instagram page now as well, although we've not long set that up, so there's not a huge amount going on there at the minute.
Well, even your posts on Insta are just very to the point, and you're not like other podcasts where it's like, oh, if it's not streaming, we won't talk about it. It's like, well, good luck. There's a lot of stuff that will never be streaming or will be removed as soon as you're about to record. So that'll already outdate your remark on where to find this movie.
Which is why physical media is important.
Physical media is always important. And that's the other thing too, is like, it's kind of like how we are with DVD and Blu-rays. Like, guys, neither of those are going away. They are proven to have worked. And streaming also works. So it's really just annoying when you just see so many
coexist.
It's got to keep coexisting. All of them work. It's kind of like when people talk about different forms of marketing. It's like, yeah, these work. This isn't.
Yeah, it's just
Bitcoin scam.
Finding the way they work, isn't it? Obviously, with so many streaming things now, people tend to dip in and out of streamers rather than. It's like there's certain ones you need so you can watch a film because you can't get it on a physical release, unfortunately, because it is exclusive to Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever. But yeah, these things are important. They coexist. It's like I'd love to see Train Dreams get a Criterion release or something.
I saw so many saying that one's too dry. I'm like, it's real, it's human. All these other movies that you're saying aren't Oscar bait, I would say are Oscar bait because it's all about the performance and not about the soul, or it's nostalgia based on a filmmaker's like, yeah, Joel Edgerton, pretty mature guy. Boy Erased was so tragic because I've known so many people who've been abused at religious groups over their being closeted, and he's done so many other just mature sit down dramas too, to where it's like, yeah, these are the more human you are as both a person and an actor, the more underappreciated you unfortunately are in this industry because everyone wants the supernatural kind of look.
Yeah,
it's like
it's just
I want
it's
the
such
illusion.
a mesmerizing movie. I mean, that's a podcast for a different time, but yeah, it's just
it
is like a dream. It's beautifully shot. It's horrific at times. It's beautiful at times. It's like, just beautiful in its mundanity sometimes. And I take something like that over a Marty Supreme.
Yeah.
And I get, there are people who like Marty Supreme and that is fine, but I will take something like a Train Dreams over.
Well, I don't understand the Safdie brothers, and I live here. I'm just like, they're too indie for even indie standards. I don't understand why. And so that's the other thing too. I see people who will go, I love an indie film. It's like, well, just because it's indie doesn't mean it's good. It's like, and then they go on you sound like a corporate goon. I'm like, there's a lot of corporate stuff that sucks too. It's all about whether it translate it, because it will even take 5 years after a movie comes out where I'll have to remind everyone is like, you do realize that role that William Dafoe or Margot Robbie was in really was a pretty just nothing role for him. Yeah, you're right. I'm like, well, that should have been apparent when you saw it. You cannot be that possibly blinded by they are in it, so therefore I love it automatically. It's like, call a spade a spade. It also shouldn't have to be reactionary. You shouldn't have to see a movie that, I don't know, like there's so many professionals like Tom Hanks and Denzel aren't gonna ruin their brand and tell you what movie they don't think that they've done they don't think is very good, because it's not their job. Their job is to just tell the story and let the art speak for itself. But then you see so many others who are like, oh yeah, isn't that movie that so and so sent an interview like they disowned? Like, it's like, if you are that snarky like a Ryan Reynolds type to just be, again, why not just see it when everyone else saw it? Oh, I missed it. Well, see it anyway, because you can learn from bad movies. You can also learn from decent B-C+ movies too. It doesn't. There's
I've never been a fan of disowning a movie you made because it got a critical pummeling. Because there is always somebody out there that is one of their favorite movies.
Michael Caine never complained. Yeah,
no. Bought him a damn nice house.
Bought him a damn nice house, and I mean, and so that's the other annoying thing too. And I kind of glossed over it, but it's been annoying when people have tried to spin Kevin Bacon's reaction to Footloose. It's like, no, he doesn't hate Footloose. He gets nerve-wracked and annoyed that people want him to dance on the spot.
Yeah.
But he's handled it as maturely as he can by just saying, I saw the Howard Stern interview. He's just like, yeah, that shit fucking scares me. So we all have our vulnerable points, and it kind of reminds you how, people don't really determine what they get typecast in. It's like, it's so funny when you see all these people who are playing computer hackers and they don't even own a phone in their home. It's like you have people who, again, they do all these dangerous stunts, but they're just physical, but they are actually afraid of getting injured by explosions and shit. So we're only human. The good ones at least are. And that's all we can ask for at the end of the day. And hopefully we explored kind of the human themes in either of these dance movies, because it's been another episode of Jacked Up Radio Show's 2 movies, 1 theme. These sister movies that came out in the 80s. We didn't even talk about how Flashdance got parodied a year later in Gremlins, also with Michael Cimino. I didn't even talk about all the other dance movies some of these Footloose guys were attached to, but that's okay, because they kind of spoke for themselves. Stuart went into the reins of it, and the rest of this has pretty much just been us just lamenting on what we can ask for a movie. And we still aren't able to really get to it. I think none of us know what would make a good dance movie, and so unfortunately Hollywood does not want to touch it. They want to make everything just look glossy. So all I can say is find someone else on Broadway who everyone trusts, get another filmmaker with some music experience, but who's also not too in your face. Again, it's because I don't want a John Chu, and Baz Luhrmann would also be too intense, even though I did like Elvis. But it can't be too Hollywoodized. It can't be too over stylized. It needs to definitely storyboard the dance training sequences. It would be cool if there was someone also at the gym. That would be cool if they crossed it over with fitness. There's a gymnastics guy who then becomes a dancer when he gets injured or something. That there would have to be definitely a way, some other atypical thing in the storyline. That's what makes any kind of good drama, and would definitely be welcome in a dance movie, is if you had some unusual premise and then you worked in the dancing. And definitely, if you're gonna, there's a lot of people doing 80s throwback music that work nowadays, so I would get those guys. Don't have an original soundtrack that's people working today who are doing synthwave throwback stuff or something like that, but stuff that's not mindless either. Just really gets you energized and makes you want to jog down a street and actually work out and dance. So
you need stuff that 40 years later it's still going to get played at weddings and on the radio.
Oh man, so where are the good record producers now? Because we've lost a bunch of them, and the others don't want to do anything more.
That's it.
Great having you on, Stuart. You're welcome back.
No, thanks for having me on.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up